began as a lawsuit meant to intimidate, polished with high-profile attorneys, and headlines that carried Melania Trump's name. She walked into the courtroom certain her legacy would be defended, certain Jasmine Crockett would be cornered. The press leaned in, ready to record a victory. But then, in less than 9 seconds, one witness, her own witness, broke the illusion wide open. The words hit like glass shattering on marble. And when the echo faded, Melania's case wasn't stronger. It was in ruins. Stay with us. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe, because this courtroom reversal is one you won't believe. The lawsuit entered the court dressed as theater. The federal courtroom gleamed with solemnity. Oak-paneled walls, flags draped behind the bench, rows of reporters scribbling notes before testimony had even begun. On paper, the space was built for neutrality. In reality, it was brimming with anticipation, the weight of celebrity, politics, and scandal colliding under one roof. At the plaintiff's table sat Melania Trump, poised, her legal team flanking her like an honor guard. Her expression was unreadable, but her presence was deliberate. She wanted the cameras to see not just a former First Lady, but a woman defending her name, her brand, her legacy. Across from her, Jasmine Crockett entered quietly, her stride steady, her shoulders squared. She carried no entourage, no theatrics, just a slim folder under her arm. She greeted her counsel with a nod, set her papers neatly on the table, and sat with calm assurance. The judge gavelled the session into order. "This court will come to order," he said, his tone heavy, the kind that demanded silence. The opening statements rolled out like expected theater. Melania's attorney painted Crockett as reckless, disrespectful, a politician whose words had crossed lines that should not be crossed. He promised the court evidence, credibility, and a witness who would set the record straight. Reporters scribbled eagerly. The headline was writing itself: Melania Trump fights to save her name. Crockett's attorney responded with fewer words, calmer, deliberate. He didn't grandstand. He didn't promise fireworks. "We will let the record and the witness speak for themselves." The stage was set, the tension was thick, and everyone in the room expected the weight of Melania's star power to overwhelm the congresswoman seated across from her. But what no one in that chamber expected was that it wouldn't be Crockett who turned the tide. It would be Melania's own witness. The first cracks in Melania's case appeared before her witness even spoke. Melania's attorney rose, buttoned his jacket, and strode confidently to the center of the courtroom. His voice was polished, rehearsed, the kind designed to impress jurors and fill headlines. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "we are here because my client's reputation, her dignity, and her very legacy have been attacked. But today, we bring you the truth, and you will hear it directly from the person who saw it all." He gestured toward the witness stand. A woman in her 50s, immaculately dressed, walked forward. She was introduced as a longtime family associate, someone who had been close to the Trumps for years. Cameras clicked furiously as she raised her hand and swore the oath. Melania sat straighter, her chin lifted, eyes fixed on the stand. She believed this was the moment the tide would turn. The attorney paced with rhythm, asking questions designed to draw sympathy. "Would you say Mrs. Trump has always carried herself with integrity?" "Yes." "And would you say she has been unfairly maligned by public figures like Miss Crockett?" "Absolutely." The words were clean, smooth, exactly what Melania's team wanted on record. Reporters scribbled, some nodded, already drafting leads for their articles. It seemed inevitable. Crockett would be framed as reckless, and Melania as a dignified victim defending her good name. But then something shifted. Crockett's attorney rose slowly, approaching the stand. His tone was calm, almost casual, but his eyes were sharp. "Ma'am," he said, "you've testified that Mrs. Trump has always carried herself with integrity, correct?" "Yes." "You've testified that her legacy is beyond question, correct?" "Yes." He paused, then slid a folder onto the podium. The room leaned in. The air grew tense. Inside that folder was a document. One the jury hadn't seen, one the reporters hadn't anticipated. The attorney tapped it once, then asked, "Would you agree that truth is the foundation of integrity?" "Yes." "Then could you explain to the court why this document, signed by you, tells a very different story?" The gallery murmured. Reporters' pens froze mid-stroke. Melania shifted uncomfortably in her chair. The witness blinked, her confidence faltering. The document, now marked for the record, was about to pull the rug out from under everything Melania's team had built. 9 seconds was all it took for the courtroom to turn. Crockett's attorney held up the document, flipping to the second page. The courtroom projector displayed it on a large screen for the jury and gallery. It was a signed affidavit, dated 2 years earlier. The same witness, Melania's own, had written in her own words, Mrs. Trump often prioritizes image over truth, and her legacy will be remembered for appearances rather than substance. The courtroom buzzed. The reporters jolted upright, pens racing. The attorney's voice was calm but relentless. Ma'am, that is your signature, is it not? Yes, the witness whispered. And those are your words? Yes. How long did it take you to write this statement? The witness hesitated. A few minutes. So, less than 10 seconds for you to declare, under oath, that Mrs. Trump's legacy was built on appearances, not integrity? The silence that followed was suffocating. The clock ticked. 1, 2, 3 seconds. The gallery counted it. The tension stacked. Finally, the witness spoke again, voice shaking. Yes. And just like that, in less than 9 seconds, the testimony meant to defend Melania shattered her image instead. The jurors shifted in their seats, some narrowing their eyes, others jotting notes. The contradiction was undeniable. A woman brought in to uphold Melania's reputation had just admitted, under oath, that her words painted a different picture entirely. Melania froze at the plaintiff's table. Her attorney leaned forward, whispering furiously, but she didn't respond. Her chin trembled ever so slightly, her eyes locked on the document glowing on the screen. Crockett didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She simply glanced toward the jury as if to say, "You heard it. I don't need to add a thing." Reporters' laptops lit up with breaking alerts. Melania's own witness contradicts her legacy. Headlines practically wrote themselves. Trump's carefully choreographed lawsuit had turned into something else entirely. A courtroom implosion captured in real time. The witness did not just contradict Melania, she redirected the entire room. The gallery buzzed with a nervous electricity. Reporters who had prepared glowing first drafts about Melania's legal offensive were backspacing furiously. Jurors shifted, eyes narrowing, some leaning forward as if they couldn't quite believe what they'd just heard. Even the judge paused before signaling the proceedings forward, his expression tight, knowing the weight of the admission that had just landed. Melania's attorney leapt up, voice urgent. Objection! Taken out of context. The witness was referring to outside perception. Not Mrs. Trump's actual conduct, but the damage was already done. Context couldn't erase a signed affidavit, projected 20 feet wide for everyone to see. The jurors had read the words. The reporters had written them down, and Melania's own witness had admitted they were hers. Crockett's counsel let the objection hang, then answered with ice-cold clarity. The best measure of truth is consistency. Tonight we have seen inconsistency under oath. The judge overruled the objection. The gavel struck once. The sound reverberated like a verdict. Melania sat motionless at the plaintiff's table. Her posture, once upright and poised, sagged slightly. She avoided the jury's gaze. Her fingers gripped the edge of the table, whitening at the knuckles. Across from her, Jasmine Crockett leaned back, her expression composed. She didn't need to raise her voice. She didn't even need to speak. Her silence was as sharp as the contradiction already on record. The gallery knew it. The reporters knew it. Even Melania's supporters in the room knew it. One staffer whispered to another too loudly, "That's the clip." And it was. Already in real time, the soundbite was escaping. 9 seconds of testimony that undercut months of legal preparation. The courtroom wasn't neutral anymore. It was tilting, visibly, toward Crockett. The courtroom heard it first. The world heard it next. By the time the gavel struck to move the case forward, the moment was already gone, carried out of the room and onto a million screens. A 38-second clip had appeared online. Melania's witness, trembling on the stand, admitting under oath that her own words described Melania's legacy as appearances over substance. The video spread like wildfire. On Twitter, it was posted with the caption, "Melania's own witness destroys her case in 9 seconds." On TikTok, it looped endlessly, with creators overlaying dramatic music to the witness's stammered, "Yes." News alerts buzzed. Trump's witness shatters her case. Inside the courtroom, phones buzzed in the gallery. Reporters stopped scribbling and began typing furiously, filing breaking reports before the hearing was even adjourned. Melania's attorney tried to push forward, pressing the witness with rapid-fire questions. "Did you mean to say Mrs. Trump lacks integrity? Did you intend to slander her legacy?" The witness faltered, backtracking clumsily. "No, I meant people saw her that way, not that she is that way." But it was too late. The internet had frozen her 9 seconds forever. The damage wasn't in the explanation. It was in the hesitation, the stammer, the contradiction under oath. Crockett's attorney didn't press further. He didn't need to. He simply looked at the jury and then sat down, allowing silence to amplify what the world was already replaying. Melania sat rigid, her jaw tight, her hands clasped in front of her. Every few seconds, she glanced toward the gallery, as though searching for one sympathetic face among the crowd. But the only thing reflected back was the glow of the screens as people rewatched the clip. Outside the courthouse, cameras gathered like vultures. Commentators were already live on air, narrating what had happened inside. Extraordinary collapse for Melania Trump. Her own witness has undermined her credibility in a matter of seconds. The lawsuit was no longer about evidence or arguments. It was about a moment, one that no spin could undo. Sometimes the truth doesn't speak in words. It speaks in faces. By the 25th minute, the 9 seconds of testimony were already replaying across phones in the gallery. Jurors shifted in their seats, their expressions betraying what no official statement had yet been made. One juror leaned back, arms crossed, eyebrows raised as if asking silently, "This is your defense?" Another leaned forward, pen frozen, eyes fixed on Melania with a look that mixed curiosity with disbelief. At the plaintiff's table, Melania sat motionless. Her attorney whispered furiously in her ear, but she didn't respond. Her eyes remained locked on the witness stand, but her face betrayed the shift. Her once stoic expression sagged, her lips pressed thin, her jaw clenched with frustration she couldn't hide. The witness, still seated, avoided Melania's gaze entirely. She dabbed her forehead with a tissue, her voice subdued, her body language shrinking with every second. The damage wasn't just in her words. It was in the trembling hands, the shallow breaths, the unmistakable weight of regret. Across the aisle, Jasmine Crockett sat calm, composed. She didn't smirk, didn't gloat, didn't even shift in her chair. Her silence told the story better than any speech could. This wasn't a victory she needed to claim. It was one Melania had handed her. Reporters in the gallery captured everything. Their notes stopped being quotes and started being descriptions. Melania tight-jawed, staring at witness. Jurors visibly uncomfortable. Crockett calm, collected, almost serene. The judge glanced at the jury, then at the clock, before sighing lightly and calling for a recess. Even he seemed to recognize that the trial's momentum had shifted beyond repair. The cameras clicked furiously as Melania stood to leave. Her face, in a mixture of frustration, disbelief, and the faintest flicker of panic, told the story louder than any headline could. By the time she reached the exit, her expression was already trending online. 9 seconds had shattered Melania's legacy. Crockett's final line buried it. The courtroom reconvened after recess, but the air was different. The jury looked heavier, the gallery quieter, the reporters sharper with their pens. Everyone knew the trial wasn't about evidence anymore. It was about the collapse they had all just witnessed. Melania's attorney tried one last push. He stood, his tone defiant, insisting that context had been twisted, that the affidavit didn't mean what it clearly said. He raised his voice, gestured toward the witness, then toward the jury, but his words felt hollow. The clip had already written the verdict. Jasmine Crockett finally rose. She walked calmly to the center of the courtroom, not rushing, not grandstanding. Her voice was measured, deliberate, every syllable heavy. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you don't need my words. You don't need long speeches. You heard 9 seconds of truth from their own witness. Integrity isn't shattered by me. It was shattered right here. She paused, then turned slightly, her gaze settling on Melania. Her voice dropped, calm and cold. You can sue me, Mrs. Trump, but you cannot sue the truth. The line hit like a gavel. The gallery went silent. Reporters scribbled it instantly. The jurors leaned back, some nodding almost imperceptibly. Melania's face stiffened. Her hands gripped the edge of the table. She didn't respond. She couldn't. The judge called order, but order had already been given. By the silence that followed Crockett's words, the case wasn't over on paper, but in that moment, the courtroom knew. The verdict had already been delivered. Was Jasmine Crockett right to dismantle Melania Trump's case with one cold line, or did she go too far? Tell me what you think in the comments. And if you missed our last story, Trump tells Barack Obama, "Sit down, boy." His reply leaves America speechless. Go watch it now. Don't forget to hit subscribe, because the next clash will be even bigger.